Hello and welcome to another episode of the Zee and Zed show. My name is Zee.
And I am Zed.
And today we're going to be talking about taking pictures of your 3D prints.
And actually this episode came as an idea. It's been something that we've been thinking about for a while, but I got a message from Local Maker Michigan yesterday, and he wanted to know what I use to take my pictures. He wanted to take better pictures of his makes, because Local Maker is one of those people that's always printing new things and sharing and hot mixing them and everything, and he wants to up his game a bit. And I have said a few times that it's actually fairly easy. So we're going to tell you today how and why it is fairly easy to take decent pictures of things that you've 3D printed.
Yeah, and it's nice to take good pictures because when you share stuff, you want to encourage others to print it, and the nicer your picture, the better you make it. You know, just maybe more people will want to print it. And there's a lot of stuff that happens, like models being uploaded to print, but there's no image. So in this episode, we'll talk about different ways to get good pictures, starting with some basics, some cheap things you can do to get good prints, and higher end setups that you might want to invest in if you're making a lot of prints and taking pictures. So before we start that, do you have any new prints you want to share?
New prints, absolutely. So first up, we had some birthdays in the last couple of days. Many birthdays.
A lot of birthdays.
So without further ado, our good friend Practical Printing, Krusty 3D, he had his 50th birthday. He loves tacos. Every day is Taco Tuesday for Krusty. So Fixin' Dude designed this really cool model of a taco cat. So it holds either hard shell or soft shell tacos, could hold burritos.
Anything.
Could hold your pancakes if you want to, do whatever. Anyway, could be a mail sorter too.
Yep, I was thinking about that. Mail.
But this is a fun, decorative and functional practical print. Then we have we have two birthdays, and that is Bugman, our great designer friend from the UK.
And that's an awesome model.
So,
I love what you did with the color changing.
Yeah, and damn it, it's Karen. So Karen, my friend Karen, who's Irish, she designed this model, and I actually used some acrylic paints on this, and it looks good enough to eat. So it's a really cool model with 2023 and then some little rosettes and the Bugman logo. So there's the Bugman cake by Karen. And then today was also Chris Riley's birthday of Chris's Basement. So CR. And Fixin' Dude made another model, which is, of course, a guitar with a benchy on the end. And I did two different models. I actually did these both at the exact same time, one on my Prusa and one on my Sobel, live on MakerDeck. And you'll see some fun colors in there. And
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't see the CR at first. I just thought it was like a really cool looking, guitar. And once you see that, it's kind of magical how well those work together. So amazing job on that design. It's just very well thought out. And
so there's more birthdays coming. I will say that after all of these birthdays, and there's even more birthdays, and there's some birthdays that were missed and everything else, there's actually thought, this is like a sidebar, that we may come up with a birthday model that can be customized for people's birthdays, because it's a tremendous amount of work, first of all, to keep track of birthdays.
Yeah.
And then to notify people of birthdays and to make sure that people are honored. And so anyway, stay tuned for that. And also, if you have any ideas or input with that, please feel free to share, because it shouldn't be on the shoulders of people to provide everything for someone's birthday. And also, if you know someone that designs models and it's their birthday, one of the best things you can do is go to the site that they list their models and download their models and print them and share them. So
Yeah, it's more of an honor
speaking,
to have
yeah,
someone's model
speaking of downloading, printing, and sharing, there was one other model that came out this weekend, and this was by Wexter, and this is his first dragon. And this dragon, the dragon's name is Iskra or Iskra, and Iskra means spark in Polish and Croatian and several other languages, and it has a special meaning to me. So anyway, I printed 2 of these so far, but he made a beautiful dragon model, and he has some more beautiful models to come. So
good choices.
We'll
in the
put
filament.
links.
I really like
so
those.
this is the Polymaker purple gold, a sovereign silk, and it printed beautifully in silk. This was actually on the Soval. And then we have the this is actually atomic periwinkle for the base, and then the rest of it is in protopasta multicolor nebula.
Yeah. Again, just gorgeous,
Yeah.
absolutely beautiful. So good job on those prints.
Yeah. So what were you printing?
Well, speaking of guitars, you can't quite play Fix 'em Dudes, but you can play my ukulele. So this is the Hex ukulele, available on printables. I think it actually won the musical instruments contest or something like that. It was a remix of a previously done Heart ukulele. And this is all 3D printed. All of it. Every single piece except for the strings. So the strings are normal. And overall, it was a very fun build. I had a lot of fun with it. And I would definitely print more of these. I have plans on printing them. For me, all it takes is just buying strings. That's it. Just buy strings and print all the parts out.
Wow.
So I might play around with some materials. I want to try a wooden version. So probably polywood or maybe like a real wood filament. We'll see. Or maybe carbon fiber nylon would be cool too. Lots of options. So if you have any ideas for what colors, what materials this should be printed in, leave a comment down below in the video description, because I'd love to make more of these. So that's all I really got for this week. Why don't we hop into the main show? So we're talking about taking pictures.
Taking pictures.
So if I want to take a picture of that ukulele, or if you want to take a picture of your models, where do you start?
Well, I'm going to start with what we started with, and maybe we'll show a little bit of growth, and then we'll explain how we ended up where we are now. So this is actually my very first 3D print ever. And that is actually a Polymaker, I think it's jungle green, might be. I'm not sure. Anyway, it's green filament. So that was my very first print on my Focus with a glass bed.
And look at that. Well, we're talking about pictures, right? So
yes, I was very proud of that.
This is more of a documenting your progress type picture, right?
Yes,
This isn't something that you intended to share with the world.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna move to the next one. Oh, I do want to show. I was trying to show. Actually, I still have this chat going with Krusty and Fix 'em Dude. There's the bottom.
Yikes! So what printer was this on?
This was the Focus Odin 5.
That's kind of interesting.
Little rough.
Yeah.
I did progress.
Picture needs better
and
focus.
So yes. And so then I actually did the Voronoi cats. So that was pretty ambitious of me, I think. And so I was trying to, that's actually Iskra in the background. So as you now you understand the meaning of Iskra to me. Yeah, so I was trying to be creative with my pictures. And that was with a cat, of course. Using what I had in my background to take pictures.
Really good prints, though.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that picture doesn't really show the full, 3D print. Oh my god.
You can also use a cat. Yeah, use a cat as a model. But as you can see, the print's not that great. But, I had fun with that.
It's not bad.
Yeah. But I think we're going to get into... Oh, now this is what I thought was a good picture. Posted it to printables even. And now I'm like terribly embarrassed by this because as you can see, first of all, It's the wrong side of the model. The model itself is not even in focus. You can still see my computer in the background, and it's on a, it's on an iPad case that had stickers on it. But I thought that was good quality. So Vixen Dude loves it because it is the Peeps Benchy. But
it's a neat model, but again, maybe not the best.
Can you even see the model?
No.
All right, so we're gonna. Oh, and here's some more of like similar. I tried to get in with a theme, so I had my Easter treats and then my plastic Peeps that I 3D printed and some of my other stuff. So I mean, that was okay. I was starting to understand what I should be doing, but not what I needed to be doing. So I'm just gonna. Oh, here's one of your first prints.
All right, so yeah, this is a Benchy done on the Ender 3B2. So this is after I took it off. Do you have the picture of it on the printer, Andy?
I believe the next one is
this one.
Yeah.
So that's the first picture I took. Actually, I think that's the first picture I took of it.
It's not even in focus.
It's barely in focus. I don't even know how that's possible, but the framing isn't bad. It's not too bad, but it's on a build plate. It's still attached to the printer. I used a brim.
Oh my goodness, a brim on a Benchy. Wow.
Ooh, yeah.
It looks like it kind of looks like a toilet.
Kira.
Yeah.
God. But yeah, stock settings. Regardless, though, the actual print picture is not that good.
Yeah.
Or it can be improved. So we're gonna discuss what could be improved to those pictures, and then we're gonna show off some of our latest pictures.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, there's another one.
That's another one I did just on my mouse pad. It's a picture. Well, I was very excited.
This is an interesting thing. You've got all kinds of stuff in the background that is kind of blurred out. It's on a mouse pad. The mouse pad actually does have lint all over it, just the same as my thing had stickers all over it and whatever. You learn over time. You really develop an eye. That's something that I guess we're going to talk about. Just like making sure. I mean, is this more recent or is this?
It's still pretty old.
Okay, and also it's just sort of a random shot of three yellow Benchies.
Yellow Benchies. No, 2 orange and 1 yellow.
Yeah. All right. What is this that we're looking at here?
So that is when I got a light box. So, well, we can start discussing how you would take better pictures. So I was a little bit, my pictures were lacking something just on my mouse pad, wherever. So I invested in a very, very inexpensive, like $10 light box. It was very small. I was able to use it. The texture is even kind of, I don't love it. I'd rather have like a plain texture. But regardless, I put this in a light box. So this is like some adapter for when I thought I needed to actively vent my printer. So I had like a little fan thing. But this was an attempt at taking a good picture for one of the models I printed. So light boxes. When you're starting off with 3D printing, going from taking a picture on your desk or on something on the printer to a dedicated light box, I think that adds quite a bit, or well, it removes quite a bit. So your focus is right on the model. And with the light box, it has very even lighting. The whole light box is usually white. You can use different backgrounds, but there's a lot of light. It's very even lighting. It's not harsh, and you're able to take really good pictures of your prints.
What I did with my pivot before I had a light box is I started to take my prints outside. So this is actually Wexter's Demogorgon, which is done in actually Polymaker Magenta silk. And so I brought it into my little basil and chive garden, and that was my solution to lighting and to eliminating sort of background noise. That's how I ended up. That's how I ended up navigating that before I had a light box, and it worked. It worked for the entire summer. Actually, here's again in the same little garden with the basil and the chives. We've got a little Wexter Ewok. and I started to play with the environment around me. And so that's where I worked with my lighting. And so I did eventually even, yeah, I played with focus. There's another Wexter model, the Admiral Akbar. I took him up the mountain with me, and eventually I started to do other things like playing with snow. So I took that. This was the first snow in November, and I took a Fix'em Dude snowflake TIE fighter to the top of the mountain in the snow. So, you know, I had fun. That was actually about 6:37 in the morning, so not a lot of light. You had to work with the light that was there, and that was my nature's light box, you know. So
Works.
that's how I worked with things in the very beginning, and it was fun. And you know, sometimes I still do that. Like I have let me see.
I have a little area outside that has rocks, and I'll just throw it on there, so it's just a picture of rocks.
There's Grant in the
background.
snow, a Florida man in the snow, and that was taken, of course, at night, so not a lot of light. But I use the environment, the snow, to take a fun picture. But
That's a good one.
yeah. So a light box though makes a world of difference, and
It does.
you can get a light box
those.
for as cheap as $20 if you're smart.
Yeah, they're.
I
a lot of them
do
are on
have a light box
Amazon.
right here. Yeah.
You
So
can get
this
some on
one's just,
AliExpress.
yeah, this is a light box here. It's got little plastic inserts, and I tend to just use an external battery pack to light it. When I have things set up a little bit better in my office or whatever, I'm going to have a permanent source for it. But see, I just have a little battery pack. And so it does light up. And I put things in the light box. And I also use, there's all sorts of external lights you can use. If you're really on a budget, you can use a flashlight. You can use the light of the room. But these little directional lights that you can change the temperature and charge with USB and everything, they're great lights for taking pictures of prints, eliminating shadows and everything. So, and the reason you want to eliminate shadows is, you know, it illuminates the prints and makes them look better.
Well,
So,
sometimes you might want some shadow. You might want
you
an
play with
environment.
shadow. Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yep, so you can play around with your lighting, play around with all this stuff, but a light box just gives you a really good environment to take a picture. So,
And it eliminates the noise around your picture. So if you don't even realize half the time what's going on in your room, photos actually pick up a lot of clutter, like we said already. The lint on your mouse pad, you probably didn't even realize your mouse pad had any lint on it. You have a cat.
yes.
I had a cat
everyone's always
in
covered
you know,
hair.
that's why I put the prints right on the cat sometimes, because I was like, oh, okay, there's a cat. But if you are taking pictures, this is actually another example. I think it's a fairly recent example for you, but another thing that that you can do is take advantage, if you are doing an open air shot, to use texture. So if you're using the environment around you, you can be outside in the grass or the snow or whatever, but this is a really good example of using texture around you. So you put it on your table there.
This is just my desk in my
Nice,
studio
clear.
or office. Yep, just nothing around it. I framed it so nothing would be in the way. A great idea is if you have a kitchen, kitchens usually have decent lighting, and kitchens usually have some type of fancy looking countertop. So you can find a spot in your countertop, clean it off, and take a picture. So that's a good hack in order to take a better picture.
Yeah, I actually had a cutting board that I would use for
There you go.
pictures. A really nice olive cutting board. And here again is another example of using. I
another
like
desk.
using I like mixing plastic with natural. It's one of my favorite things to do. If I'm not in the light booth, I like to mix the printed plastic with something natural. So whether it's, I've actually put like something in a tree to take a picture of it before, definitely in the grass. But using wood grain is a really fun way to do it too. So
It is.
we're a little all over the place, but we're getting there. We're getting there. So there's your rainbow all together. So very nice.
When I take pictures of models, sometimes I'll take like an in progress picture on the printer, kind of like this right here, showing that, oh, look what I printed. And
Yeah.
then I'll go and take a more stylized picture, or just a cleaner picture. Sometimes it is nice to take a picture on your printer because it shows, oh, it's 3D printed, right? You're sharing the experience.
Yes.
But
Yes.
just play around with it. Take a picture while it's on there. Maybe, take it off the printer, clean up the skirt. Don't take a picture when you have a skirt or purge line on your bed like that. Don't do that. Take that off and put it back on the bed if you're going to take it. It makes it look a little cleaner. I printed that one just in case.
Duh.
Mhm.
Cute.
But when you get into the light box, like the previous picture you're showing, you can get
Yes.
very, very detailed pictures, just focused on the model or whatever your subject is. Like this, for example, the focus is the filament. I wanted to take a picture of the filament. So I put it in the light box, angled it appropriately, and it looks pretty good. Now, my secret to taking decent pictures is I have a Samsung S22 Ultra, and one of the main cameras is a 3x optical lens.
Mm-hmm.
So that gives you around 70 millimeters of focal length. And that's a very nice zoomed in picture. It's not wide angle at all. It's a very good, zoomed in view for your image. So I usually stand back a bit and then use it 3x, so I get a very narrow shot. Nothing else is in the picture. With wide angle, you get a lot. So this is wide angle right now, and you can see everything. But if it was more telephoto, then you would just see this right here at the same distance.
Okay. I sometimes they do a little trick, and I know you can do it on an iPhone. So what you do is you take the photo. This is especially if you're going to share it, add it to something. You take the photo and you hold it down, and it cuts the photo out. Have you done this before? Where you press the photo
Maybe
and it
I have to
cuts
hold it for a few
cuts
seconds.
it cuts the image
Yeah.
out?
I can do that on my Samsung.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was a thing until someone showed me. They're like, "Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's a feature on the S23." I was like, "Oh,
So
I wish I
this
had
is
that on my 22."
this is of course like Iskra the dragon cutout.
Yeah, so if I
And
want
so
to take
it's
a
a
picture
really
like
fun,
this,
yeah,
I can just hold it like this.
yeah.
Oops. Like this, and then I can drag it around. Ooh, pretty cool.
Okay, so my secret, really, aside from that, is most of my pictures are not taken with my professional-ish Canon camera. I should be doing more of that, but sometimes you print something, you're excited, because of the light box, because of the little bits of light, the little lights that I have and stuff. I just use my iPhone camera. So I make sure that the image is nice and clear, that it's focused, and the beauty of using, of course, one of those digital cameras is that you get your result right away. I mean, that is
Yeah, take a picture.
ever since like 1997.
Cell
you
phones
can
do a lot of post processing right
but-
there on the image.
Yeah, and I do a lot of post production editing. Some people don't, but what I will do is go into a picture and start to clean things up. So I'm actually gonna bring something up that I just a quick little. I've actually done this on my channel a bit, where I've done like an actual edit. So this is by Matt Patnode, and obviously I would crop this first. So very quickly, I'm just going to show you that I would crop this as much as possible. Then I would go in and, edit the exposure, make the exposure a little brighter. I actually didn't have enough light for this picture. Add some brightness or, adjust the vibrance and the saturation and the cast. But I actually go into the retouch and I'll zoom in. It's a 3D print. So with 3D prints, this was actually a little bit of a rough model because I had some problems with my printer that day. So I go in and I retouch. I do a lot of retouching of the print. Especially if there's, actually there's just a little bit of, stringing and stuff like that. I tend to go through and take away, whoops, that was a big one. Anyway, but I'll go in and sorry, I'm trying to move it, but it's too big. There we go. So I'll go in and I will, retouch stringing and things like that. Someone did say in chat, make sure that you don't take pictures so perfect or retouch them so much that they do look fake. Because of course it is a 3D print. You do have, layer lines and those things can be visible. But I'll go in and I'll clean it up enough so that you end up with a picture that looks more like this one. So it's a little more, little more attractive and easy to share. Another trick that I do is when I go to share it on somewhere like Twitter, I will actually compress the image so people can't zoom in on it. So I will do a screenshot of the picture to lower the image quality quickly. And that's the picture that I will share at times. So anyway, those are little tips that I do.
So, personally, if I'm trying to do a little bit more editing, if it's just on my phone, then I will use, I typically don't edit my pictures. I just take a picture and I frame it and I make sure lighting's good, and whatever it comes out, that's what it is. I might use the editing tool on my camera app for quick pictures, but when I really want good pictures, I don't think I shared any of those in there, but yeah, that's just a picture, right?
That's just a picture.
Yeah, just.
But I would have gone in and removed that little bit of stringing there. So that's that's just me.
I've been using Photoshop for that type of work, but all of these pictures like that's just in my phone. And of course, that's using the telephoto lens on the camera. It helps out significantly to get more detail, and it looks more natural to take a picture with a telephoto lens. Yeah. Not quite like this telephoto, but it's still nice for a 3D print, and that allows you to see fine details.
And the other thing is, this is a 3D print, so people should know that it is a 3D print. That's one of the things where if you're sitting there removing every single flaw, then that does take away from the experience for sure. So. Right.
So what happens? What happens if you want kind of a, you go from this type of picture where you're just taking a picture in your bed and you don't have a light box, but you want a nice clean backdrop? What can you do? Well, you can buy a poster board. And there are 3D printable adapters that essentially clip onto the sides and curve it up, kind of like a green screen. So you can have a really nice big backdrop. I don't know if you have any of those, but yeah, something like that. There's plenty of prints.
So this is actually a fun thing. Yeah, this is Star Wars paper.
That's weird. Okay, yeah.
It's Star Wars craft paper. So if you're gonna take a picture of a Star Wars figure, so if you're gonna do it's scrapbook paper. So if I was going to take a picture of BD1, I could have him on a Darth Vader background, or there's actually stormtroopers on the other side. Yeah,
Pretty cool.
and so these are 3D printable, fairly easy to do, but just a plain piece of paper or
Printer
cardboard.
paper, even.
Yeah,
You
printer
can stack
paper.
up multiple pieces of paper. Just use that as your backdrop if you really need
Yep,
to.
yep.
You can edit it in post, remove the seams. But just buy a piece of, a larger white piece of paper of some sort, poster board, and then print off one of those adapters, and you have a nice little studio.
Yeah.
Find somewhere good light. Your kitchen is usually good, and then just take pictures. That's probably the
Yes.
best thing to do. Just take pictures, post them, send them to your friends,
Experiment.
say, what do you think?
Yeah.
I've had some people who are getting into photography and trying to improve their pictures, just send me pictures, and I'll be like, okay, this is good, but you might want to adjust this or this or this a little bit. And as over time, you start to develop better habits.
And then you can also experiment by doing things like this.
Yeah, there you go. Just like different angles on your camera. This was
That
just
looks like the
top-down.
marshmallow, like the marshmallow, twisted marshmallow ropes that you can get.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's really neat. Be artistic with your
Very artistic, yep.
with your pictures.
have fun.
And
If you're having fun,
that's a really
then
fun
you're not going to
way,
want to
yeah.
take pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, we've talked about light boxes. We've talked about, here's another one where you're using the texture. There's a little bit of glare there, but especially if you just want to take a quick picture, just make sure it's nice and clear.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess one thing that we haven't really talked about, and this is something over time I did develop an appreciation for photography, and actually both Glendon and I were really lucky to have some lessons from Kevin, and you also have a little bit of experience with photography. So I think we talked about capturing light using the environment, but there is something that is a good rule of thumb, the basics of photography, and that is the exposure triangle. So that sort of goes along with everything that we've talked about here, and I guess we should talk about that a little bit,
Yeah, we can briefly
just to
touch on
help
it.
people with it. Yeah, exactly.
So-
So
Coming from an aspect of a mobile, a cell phone camera, it'll do all of the exposure optimization computation for you. But the biggest thing to know is that if you don't have enough light coming into your camera, then it'll try to compensate in one way or
Mhm.
another. So the three different parts of the triangle are your aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. So the aperture is how wide open the camera lens lets in light. So the narrower the aperture, the less light it lets in, but you get more stuff in focus. The larger the aperture gets, then the more light gets in, and the less is in focus. So your range is really shallow.
Mhm.
So you're taking a picture of a 3D print, and you want the whole thing in focus, then you have to have a wider aperture. And then typically on I think they're usually fixed or it's in software on a mobile phone.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about a
But-
camera, you can adjust that.
And there are things that you can do with just your cell phone. One thing is, I know for with an Apple phone, with an iPhone, and I think you can do it on other phones too, is you can actually tap, look at the screen, look at the view screen, and tap on what the focus of your picture is, and it will focus onto that a little bit better. The other thing that you shouldn't do, and it's something that people do a lot of the time with smartphones, is they actually zoom. They zoom
Yes.
when they're taking the picture.
Never
You
use
actually
software zoom.
take the full picture and edit it after, because if you zoom then you're going to run into all sorts of problems. So the next thing, the next thing, of course, is shutter speed. Again, this is something that you can play around with. Some phones have different modes and everything, but again, that's more with a regular camera. The nice thing about smartphones is that you do a lot of these things for you. There's just little things that you can do to tweak along the way.
Yeah, shutter speed
And-
is typically really fast on a picture or on a mobile phone because you're typically taking a picture of something. When you're taking a picture of a stationary object, you don't need a really fast shutter speed. because your object is hopefully not moving. If your 3D
Yeah.
print's moving, then you got other issues. So if you decrease your shutter speed, that will let in more light, meaning you can get a better picture. So the last thing is ISO, or what's a better term for that? Exposure,
Yeah.
sensitivity.
Sensitivity.
The
Yeah.
less light you have, the more ISO, or the more sensitive your camera has to become. The more sensitive the camera is, you get very grainy results. If you ever take a picture at night and it looks like just grainy mess, that's why. It's trying to compensate by digitally, or increasing the sensitivity, and that just makes your print look bad. So if you don't have enough light, or if your aperture shutter speed settings are incorrect, then you'll have to compensate by just having a fuzzy image. Actually, nowadays you can fix that in software, but you're better off just getting a clear image to start with.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, those are the basics. So when you're taking pictures of things that are 3D printed, the other thing that you really want to remember is to make sure that it looks, when you post, in post-production, all those different things, take a look at the actual object and take a look at your picture and make sure it still matches up, especially when it comes to filaments. Because I could post-produce, the heck out of this, and it could end up looking like it's dark purple with, gold sparkles in it. No matter what, if I could do something like that. Make sure you take a look at what it is that you printed and make sure that it still does look the same. We are both big filament fiends, and we're both very sensitive to, when you buy filament, that the picture is very accurate to the color that you actually receive. And not just in the naming of it, but also in the picture. And when you share something, people will ask, oh, what filament is that? A lot of the time. And you want to make sure that it is true to the color.
Absolutely. Don't go too crazy. And if you do, just note that, you're being artistic and this is not the actual color of the filament, which can be good for scenes or different types of photography. But that's pretty much it. So when you're taking pictures, just understand the surroundings, know that you're pointing a camera, take a look at the whole thing, try to frame it in a way that captures the best angles of your subject without getting stuff in the background in frame. Take different angles, like this one I took a couple of different shots from it.
Because you want to, and you also, you want to capture all the different textures and feelings, especially when you've got, is that 2 different or 3 different kinds of multi tone? So that's really fun. That's where you're getting, all the different shades. Oh, and then this of course captures all the different shades within a specific filament. Again, you're using light, you're using shadow, you're removing all the noise from the background, and I see you didn't you didn't touch it up too much. You showed that it was a 3D print. So I think that's...
I don't touch up my pictures because I'll try to do a lot of, pre-processing. I'll clean up stuff as much as I can. If I have a cat hair or something, I'll just take it off or try to fix it beforehand.
Yes. Yeah.
That's my process. Otherwise, you can just take a picture and then post-process it. Whatever way gets the best representation of your print. And I also
and the
like
other
to
thing,
I'll just mention, I like to take a really wide picture, and I'll take a lot of close-up pictures of different details of the print. Those tend to look nice when you share them.
Yeah, and the other thing that we should actually say is, when you take a picture of a model that you have printed, you want to make sure that you credit the designer of the model, unless you've designed it yourself. Give yourself credit, but that is something that we both sort of we like to include in our practice, because I could say, hey, look at this pretty dragon I printed, which is great, but I could actually say this is Wexter's newest model. Its name is it's Iskra. You can find it here, and then you could also decide in whatever social media post you can say what filament you used, those sorts of things. It's really fun to actually share these with the filament companies so they can see all the different things that you've printed with their filament. They enjoy that. I mean, they geek out on their filament. They geek out on other people's filaments, and so it's fun to share that. And just do it with taste and don't over tag or anything. But giving credit to the designer is important, and also it helps people, because if someone sees, this really cool vase, they're immediately going to ask you, what filament is that, and where did you get the model? So if you include that in your description as much as possible, you've already solved the problem and shared something. Fully shared.
Yes.
So that's my little editorial.
Make sure that you're giving credit and give it in a way that makes sense. Typically, I'll post what I printed, and then who the designer is, if possible. And then I'll post the filament. And then otherwise, I'll also say, this was printed on X printer. Sometimes, it's nice to say, this print right here was printed on 4on 2.4 in Polymaker, PETG, etc.
Yeah, exactly. And you're proud of that, right? Because you worked on that Voron, and that was something that you're able to produce from that printer.
So share your work, take good pictures of it. If you have any questions, there are people in the community that are more than willing to help. You can hop on right on the MakerDeck live chat, Discord, etc., and just ask for help. And
in the next MakerDeck newsletter, we are going to be sharing this episode and also sharing a whole list of resources of where we found our light boxes and all the different accessories that you can use for all different budgets. Because we already know that this is a hobby, and you don't need to be a photographer as well as to be in this hobby. But it is nice to share something as beautifully as you can, as tastefully as you can, and it's another element to sharing your makes.
And maybe you're selling your prints and you need to take good pictures of them. Well, you don't want to just throw it somewhere random, take a picture. You want to have it properly framed, properly lit, and most importantly, an accurate representation of what the model is. So,
absolutely.
I think that covers up pretty much the whole episode.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you have anything else to add?
No, I think we've covered everything and a little bit more. We just wanted to answer this question that's been asked a lot, because we both sort of improved the way that we take pictures, mostly because we really love filament and we really love the models that we're printing and want to make them shine. And as much as we love cats and kitchen counters and whatever else, it's fun to highlight the model. So
yep. All right, well, that was a great episode. Go out and take some pictures, try some new settings, try something different, try editing, just spend a little bit more time in your picture to make it look really good. So I'll see you guys next week on the Zee and Zed show. My name is Zee.
And I am Zed. Merci beaucoup. Et à bientôt.
And goodbye.
Bye. The hat. People. Glendon and Kevin said I did look like a pilgrim today. There. Should I do a matte rainbow Polyterra from Polymaker? So if you go to Polymaker Canada, it's there, and in the US, you can be notified when it goes back into stock.
This is mine. My bowl.
Yeah, it's so pretty.
So good.
That bowl is really nice. I like this view better.
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, I forgot. This is still like available on your channel, even if I edit this stuff out of the big one.